Welcome to our review of the Fanatec CSL DD. Now at GamerMuscleVideos we had access to a preview version of the CSL DD and have covered it fairly extensively already. As a result, I'm making this review as laser beam concise and quick as possible for those of you that just want to get straight to the point, know the most pertinent details and how this force feedback wheel compares to other force feedback wheels on the market. If you want to support my dream of driving a Radical SR3 into a tree round the Nordschleife, by all means use our affiliate links in the description. If you don't want me to die in a horrendous way, don't use them. Or maybe do. I'm confused now. The Fanatec CSL DD is Fanatec's newest wheel and replacement for both the CSL Elite and the Club Sport Wheelbase 2.5, all in a single, rather small direct drive unit. To achieve the replacement of two previous wheelbases into a single wheelbase, at the point of purchase, customers can either choose between a low power supply, which offers 5 Nm of maximum force output, essentially the same as the Fanatec CSL Elite, or they can opt for the boost power supply, which offers a maximum force output of 8 Nm, essentially the same as the Club Sport Wheelbase 2.5. Now the big difference between the CSL DD and the upgrade of the CSL DD over the aforementioned wheels is the fact that it's a direct drive wheel, which means your wheel rim is literally directly attached to the motor, which comes with a whole host of benefits, some of which being no mechanical dampening from belts and cogs, higher dynamic range of forces, smoother and more adjustable force feedback, high resolution force feedback effects, cooler operation by using a larger motor that's less prone to overheating, totally silent when in use, more reliable over time due to less moving components, and of course 100% guaranteed to excite attractive Eastern European women. Now of course people that were already subscribed to the channel already knew all that and even more about DDs and the FFBs. So if you want to know more about the DDs and the FFBs, make sure you subscribe and click the like button right now. Visuals and design. When taking a close look at the Fanatec CSL DD, you can see that it's rather brutalist in appearance and not that unlike a weapon of medieval warfare. The design of it is certainly not as sleek or as elegant as either the CSL Elite or the Club Sport Wheelbase 2.5, but it's very utilitarian and fits in well with the visual appearance and aesthetic of your average T-slot sim rig. In construction, other than the front and back plate, it's mostly metallic with protrusions and fins, not only helping in its passive cooling, but also allowing for its rather novel mounting solution with the use of T-nuts, giving this wheelbase a few more mounting options than it would have had if it only used pre-drilled holes. It's also worth saying that a separate table clamp can be bought for the CSL DD, allowing for it to be used on a desk perfectly fine. Nicely, it does still have those front faceplate holes allowing you to attach custom accessories and screens to the wheelbase. As you can see, it fits my SimLab SD42-X display perfectly. On the rear end of the CSL DD you have the connection port hub for all the Fanatec devices, allowing you to plug your handbrake, shifter and pedals directly into the base, which not only reduces cable mess but allows this wheelbase to work with the Xbox consoles as a full sim setup, so long as you also use it with a Xbox compatible wheel rim. On the front of the CSL DD there's a rather large on-off button that's pushed once with a satisfying click to arouse and turn on the device, and pushed again to change compatibility mode, or held down for a few seconds like a wrestling victory in order to turn it off. Also on the front, protruding from the wheelbase, is the wheel shaft that's part of Fanatec's quick release system. The shaft the base comes with is compatible with all current Fanatec wheels, however in the future it will also be upgradable to their new QR2 system that presumably will allow it to work with their real car wheels, such as the yet to be released BMW GT3 rim. When using a CSL Elite quick release with this wheelbase, everything goes on snug, firm, with no play and feels absolutely fantastic. However, with my review unit, unfortunately, when I use wheel rims that have the Club Sport V2 quick release on them, I'm noticing a little bit of play in the left and right rotational axis. I can stop this from happening by using the locking pin that comes with all the Fanatec wheels, but really that should not be needed, and has never been needed with any of the previous Fanatec wheelbases that I've used. Installation and setup. The CSL DD connects to PC or Xbox via a USB to USB-C cable, which, as you guys know, is the most sexy of the USB cables. Of course, it also has a chunky power port, which you plug either the low power power pack or the high power power pack into, depending on which one you have. If you do go and get one of these CSL DDs, just as a reminder, before you plug the wheel into the PC, make sure you download and install all the latest Fanatec drivers, otherwise the wheel will look back at you in disgust. Now, there was a reminder to upgrade the drivers on the PC before plugging it in and turning it on through the communicational format of a sticker affixed to the shaft of the CSL DD. This sticker was really annoying to remove, but it did at least ensure that I didn't forget to install the drivers before plugging the wheel in. Putting it mildly, in the past, updating Fanatec wheelbases and wheel rims was a bit of a pain in the arse, with lots of space for people like me to mess things up and then have to spend valuable time, which could be spent tea drinking, troubleshooting how to fix things. However, I have to say the latest Fanatec drivers and firmware updater software is much better, and after installing the software and plugging the wheel in, I had no issues clicking through the well-presented menus that guide you through updating all your equipment. All told, the whole process of updating my wheelbase and 6 of my Fanatec wheel rims took literally less than 15 minutes. Outside of that install process, the wheel is like any other wheel you would use on your sim rig or desk, though a big advantage of the Fanatec wheels is that you can not only change the settings in the Fanatec software on your desktop, but you can also change it from the wheel directly by pushing the little settings button on any of the Fanatec wheel rims, allowing you to save up to 5 different profiles on the wheel itself. If you want more profiles for specific cars or specific simulators, then you'll want to use the Fanalab software, but to be honest, I normally only use 3 profiles, and it's so quick and easy to tweak, I always just tweak it on the wheel rim when I jump from car to car. It's worth pointing out that with the new Fanatec drivers, the setting menu will initially be in noob mode, or as Fanatec call it, standard mode, which removes lots of the force feedback options to make things less intimidating to people that have not ruined their life with sim racing yet. Given that you're watching this channel and your life has already been ruined, you will want to click the advanced mode option and then waste more time setting things up exactly to your taste. It's the way proper sim racers like to do things. How good is its force feedback? With the low power power pack, the wheel gives great detail for track surface as well as a reasonable range of forces for G-load, tyre flex and more sustained force feedback effects that help you drive the car at the limit. Compared to other force feedback wheels on the market, the CSL DD with the low power power pack is relatively similar to how the CSL Elite feels, but with the advantage of having almost no built-in dampening and also being much smoother in operation, of course with there being the big benefit of there being no cogging feel from belts or gearing systems that you get with non-direct drive wheels. The CSL DD also benefits from being able to pick up smaller force feedback details and more subtle twitches and changes in force feedback that can sometimes be a bit muddy, especially on belt-driven systems. Compared to something like the Thrustmaster TSPC Racer, the wheel has a far more natural and clean feel to its force feedback delivery, with again less dampening and all-round more precision to the force feedback effects, whereas the TSPC Racer, though perfectly fine for sim racing, can lack the clarity of force feedback that the CSL DD, even with the low power pack, offers. Now with the boost power pack or the high power power pack, the CSL DD really shines and offers something much closer to the experience of what you normally get from the higher end and much more expensive direct drive wheels on the market. However, with the max output of force being 8 Nm, it's still a fair way off what you get from a DD1, SimuCube 2 and stronger OSW solutions that are available on the market. If you really want something super punchy, super raw and totally hardcore, then unfortunately you will need to spend more money on a more powerful DD wheel. Despite this, the additional power of the boost pack allows wheels attached to the CSL DD to offer a far greater dynamic range of forces compared to the low power pack, massively helping in catching cars and driving them at the limit. Cars like the Shelby Cobra in Assetto Corsa, for example, become far less of a chore to drive and much more of a pleasant slidey experience, with the wheel doing lots of the work for the driver. In comparison to other wheels on the market when using the boost power supply with the CSL DD, the closest thing to it would be the wheel it's replacing, the Club Sport Wheelbase 2.5, but again, the CSL DD does that, plus has all the benefits of it being a direct drive wheelbase. Within the same price point as a CSL DD with the boost pack and a CSL wheel rim is the Thrustmaster TGT, which from a raw force feedback perspective simply doesn't come close to what the CSL DD offers. Again, largely due to the fundamental nature of Fanatec's custom direct drive servo motor. The Fanatec CSL DD is an absolutely fantastic piece of equipment, and it's fair to say is a complete paradigm shift for the mass market force feedback wheel space, specifically the mid-end space of the force feedback market. Now, if you're just starting out sim racing, I would still say you're probably better off getting a Logitech G wheel when they're on sale, or even a Thrustmaster T300, as those wheelbases come with a wheel, pedals and everything you need to get going, and are perfectly fine for sim racing, and you can even use those to win top level esports competitions. But if you wanted something that actually feels like a real car's steering column and also captures a lot more of what the simulators are putting out in terms of force feedback, and with the boost pack approaches the levels of wheels that cost twice as much as this, well, it's a no-brainer. You would just go for the CSL DD. And I can totally see that for the vast majority of people, this wheelbase, especially with the booster pack, is the only wheelbase that they would ever need. Now, I can't be entirely positive because that would not be very British, and I will say there's one thing stopping this from being an absolutely perfect wheel, and that is, of course, the quick release situation with the Club Sport V2 quick release. And the fact that it's not really a total quick release situation with this, because you attach it, but then, due to that really tiny amount, 0.5 millimeter of play, you then have to use a locking pin, which does come with the wheels, and it is recommended to use, but you have to use it with this to then lock it down and get it totally solid. Well, that means that you have to also have an Allen key with you to then tighten your wheel on, and none of the other Fanatec wheels you had to do that. And in my mind, that means it's not really a total quick release. It's more of a somewhat slow release, which is good when you're in the bed, but if I'm on my sim rig, I want to get going. I want to slap it on and get going and start driving badly. Even more weirdly with that situation is that the CSL quick release, which comes with the cheaper wheel rims, this goes on perfectly fine. You just slap it straight on, tighten her up, and away you go. Absolutely rock solid. No screws needed. Proper premature quick release. Amazing. So I don't know what's gone on there, and I don't know why that's happened, but that, in my mind, is the only real downside of this wheelbase. It is worth, whilst I've got this in my hand, saying that if you're buying a CSL DD, you might be better off using, apart from the quick release, using the lighter wheel rims that Fanatec offer, because what you'll find as well is that due to this only having 5 or 8 Newton meters of torque output, if you use lighter Fanatec wheel rims, the wheel rim will have less inertia and you'll be more easily able to feel the force feedback that the motor's putting out. And in many ways, due to the fidelity of the CSL DD motor and the sort of tighter nuances of it, you actually get higher granular force feedback details than you even get from the more expensive Podium DD1 and DD2 wheels, which you specifically will notice if you're using the lighter wheel rims. So if I was getting one of these, I would definitely go for the lighter wheel rims, or at minimum I'd go for something that has the CSL quick release on it. obviously, I think what's happened is with the Close Sport V2 adapter, the assumption from Fanatec is probably that if you're using this adapter, you're going to be using it with the podium wheels or the DD1 or DD2, because you need this adapter on those wheels in order to get the full torque output from those force feedback wheels, because it is just more solid. And on the podium wheel, this doesn't have the same issue of needing to use the locking pin. All told though, this is the best force feedback wheel for its price point. If you want absolutely raw hardcore force feedback, you will need to go for Simucube 2s, OSWs, DD1, DD2, Fanatec podiums. But for anyone outside of that, this is the only wheelbase they would ever need, which is pretty incredible, really. The force feedback mid-space market is over until another company could come out with a direct drive wheel and force even more price competition with Fanatec. So really good, I think, for most sim racers, and really nice to see DD wheels become the norm. Hopefully, guys, that has covered most of the key points that you were looking for in a review of the CSL DD. Now, you know what I'm like. We're going to be doing live streams. I'm going to be doing setup videos. I'm going to be wasting my life playing around with force feedback, because that's what I personally find quite entertaining. So, if you want to be kept abreast of all that, make sure you subscribe and also click the like button. And also, if you do get a CSL DD or you're buying anything from the Fanatec store and you want to support me, use my affiliate link that's in the description. I really appreciate that. As I said at the beginning, that will allow me to do my radical parked into a tree dream. That's my escape plan from planet Earth. So until the next one, guys, thank you very much for watching. Happy tea drinking, and goodbye.